Have you ever felt it? That subtle thief that enters your life not with a sound but with silence. It doesn't steal your possessions. It steals your time. It steals your potential. It steals the person you were meant to become. You stand at the edge of a new day, a new year, a new opportunity, and you find yourself taking the same old path, the familiar path, the safe path. But you know deep in your bones that this safe path is leading you somewhere you no longer want to go. You feel the friction, the silent scream of your own spirit wanting to break free. Yet the cycle continues. The days turn into weeks, the weeks into years, and the future you once dreamed of becomes a ghost, a faint memory of a forgotten promise. This is not a failure of willpower. It is not a lack of desire. You are caught in a loop, a powerful invisible current, pulling you back to shore every time you try to swim for a new horizon. Today we will not just look at this current. We will name it. We will understand its power. And I will give you the tools to break it. Because what is stealing your future is a single silent mistake. And we are going to end its reign, starting now. Topic 1. The anatomy of the silent mistake. So what is this mistake? It is not the decision you made yesterday. It is not the opportunity you missed last month. The silent mistake is the unconscious choice you make every single moment to prefer the comfort of a familiar pain over the discomfort of an unknown possibility. Let me repeat that. You have become addicted to the comfort of your own suffering. It sounds harsh. It sounds illogical. Why would anyone choose pain? Because it is a known pain. Your mind has mapped every corner of it. It knows how to navigate your anxiety, your procrastination, your self-doubt. It has built a home in that struggle. It is a cage, yes, but the bars are familiar. You know their cold touch. The world outside that cage and the future you dream of. That is the unknown. And the primitive part of our brain equates the unknown with danger. It would rather keep you in a prison it understands than guide you to a paradise it cannot predict. This isn't just philosophy. This is biology. It is a principle called homeostasis, the tendency of a system, especially the human body, to maintain internal stability. Your mind creates a psychological homeostasis. If your normal is a state of low-level anxiety and dissatisfaction, your brain will fight relentlessly to keep you there. Any attempt to feel joy, to be bold, to take a risk, is perceived as a threat to that stability. Your brain triggers alarms, flooding you with fear and doubt, not to hurt you, but to protect you by forcing you back to the familiar misery. There's a brilliant neuroscientist, Judson Brewer, from Brown University's Mindfulness Center, who has spent his career studying this. In his work on habit loops, detailed in his book Unwinding Anxiety, he explains how even negative emotional states, like anxiety, can become self-perpetuating habits. Here is how the trap works. Through a simple three-step process: trigger, behavior, reward. A trigger, say thinking about a big project, causes a behavior. You feel anxious. The reward, strangely, is the anxiety itself. Why? Because by worrying, you feel like you are doing something. This worry is familiar. It gives you a temporary illusion of control, or at least a predictable script to follow. You're not solving the problem, but you are activating a well-worn neural pathway. Your brain says, this feeling, I know this one, this is safe. So you are not addicted to the pain of anxiety. You are addicted to the predictability of the habit loop it creates. You are choosing the familiar script of worry over the unwritten script of action. This is the silent mistake in action, hardwired into your brain's very own reward system. Breaking the cycle isn't about fighting your brain, it's about giving it a better, more rewarding offer. This mistake manifests quietly. It is the "I'll start tomorrow" that has become your daily mantra. It is the toxic relationship you stay in because the fear of being alone seems worse. It is the brilliant idea you never share because the fear of judgment is more real to you than the possibility of success. Each of these is a vote for the cage, a vote to allow the silent mistake to continue its theft of your life force. But to recognize the cage is the first step to dismantling it. You have now seen the bars. You understand the lock. You are no longer an unknowing prisoner. You are an architect of your own freedom, simply waiting for the right key. And what if that key was not one of resistance but of release? There is an old Zen story that perfectly illustrates this. A young monk had to cross a wide, treacherous river to reach a sacred mountain. There was no bridge. Using all his strength and skill, he felled a tree, tied logs together, and built a sturdy raft. He pushed the raft into the turbulent water, and after a great struggle against the current, he finally reached the other side, exhausted but triumphant. He stood on the bank, looked at the mountain, and then looked back at the raft that had saved his life. He felt a deep sense of gratitude and attachment to it. So he hoisted the heavy raft onto his back and began his long, arduous climb up the mountain. He struggled with every step, the weight of the raft bending his back, slowing his progress, and stealing the joy of his journey. An old master, who was meditating on the path, saw him and asked, "Young man, why do you carry such a heavy burden?" The monk replied, "This raft saved me. It is my tool, my savior. I cannot leave it behind." The master smiled gently and said, "The raft served its purpose. It got you across the river. But now you are carrying the very thing that is preventing you from reaching the mountain. Its purpose is fulfilled. Your attachment to the tool of your salvation has become your new prison. That raft is your familiar suffering. It is the anxiety that once protected you. It is the procrastination that once saved you from failure. It is the past that got you to where you are today. But you are on the other side of the river now. And to climb the mountain of your future, you must have the courage to leave the raft behind." Topic 2. Why we chain ourselves to the past. You now understand the mistake. You have seen the raft. You feel its weight. But the question that burns within you is, why? Why do I keep picking it up? Why do I cling so tightly to the very thing that holds me back? The answer is not a weakness in your character. It is a feature of your design. We must journey into the architecture of the mind to understand the chains we forge for ourselves. Your brain is a survival machine. It is the result of millions of years of evolution, fine-tuned for one primary purpose: to keep you alive. And for our ancestors, the world was a landscape of immediate threats. A rustle in the grass was not a curiosity, it was a potential predator. An unknown berry was not an opportunity, it was a potential poison. To survive, the brain developed a powerful negativity bias. It learned to pay far more attention to bad experiences than good ones. Remembering the one poisonous berry was infinitely more important for survival than remembering 1,000 sweet ones. This ancient software is still running in your mind today. But your modern world is not the ancient savannah. The predators you face are deadlines, judgment, failure, and rejection. Yet, your brain reacts with the same primal alarm. It screams danger. When you face the unknown, even if that unknown is a better job, a healthier relationship, or the pursuit of your own purpose, it creates a profound resistance to change, because the familiar, even if it's a cage, has been assessed and deemed survivable. The new path, the path to your future, is uncharted. To your brain's ancient operating system, uncharted means danger. So you remain stuck, not because you are weak, but because your internal security system is too strong. It is working perfectly, but it is working from an outdated map. This internal conflict creates a fascinating psychological phenomenon. When your actions, like staying stuck, are in direct opposition to your beliefs and desires, like wanting to grow, your mind experiences a state of intense discomfort. In the 1950s, the social psychologist Leon Festinger gave this a name: cognitive dissonance. Festinger's research at Stanford University revealed a profound human tendency. When faced with this dissonance, we have two choices: either endure the difficult process of changing our behavior, or much more easily, change our belief to justify the behavior. This is the birth of the stories you tell yourself. Now is not the right time to start that business. My job isn't so bad, at least it's stable. I'll be happy after I get that promotion, that new car, that new partner. This is just who I am. These stories are not truth. They are sedatives. They are elegant lies the mind spins to resolve the painful friction between where you are and where you want to be. It is easier to lower the dream to match your reality than to raise your reality to match the dream. Recognizing these stories is like hearing the jailer jingle the keys. It's the sound of your own mind working to keep you imprisoned. The moment you hear a story that justifies inaction, you know you have found a link in the chain. This process goes even deeper than habits. It begins to shape your very identity. You don't just procrastinate, you become a procrastinator. You don't just feel anxiety, you become an anxious person. When you fuse your identity with your limitation, the chain becomes almost unbreakable. Because now, to change the behavior, you must threaten your own sense of self. Your brain's primary directive shifts from just keeping you alive to keeping your identity intact. It will defend this negative self-image with the same ferocity it would use to defend you from a physical threat. This is why change feels like a battle. It is a battle. It is a battle against the most powerful and intimate force you will ever know, your own mind's perception of itself. There is a fundamental law of the universe that explains this struggle perfectly. It's Newton's first law of motion, the law of inertia. The law states that an object at rest will stay at rest, and an object in motion will stay in motion, unless acted upon by an external force. Think of your life right now, dreams, your patterns, your cycles, your silent mistake. This is your state of inertia. A life at rest in a cycle of familiarity will, by a law of physics, stay at rest. It requires no energy to continue being who you were yesterday. That is the default state. To break the cycle, to change your trajectory, requires the deliberate application of force. It requires an initial burst of energy that feels unnatural, uncomfortable, and difficult. It is the moment you push the heavy boulder from a standstill. The resistance is immense. But here is the beautiful second half of that law. Once an object is in motion, it stays in motion. The initial force required to start is far greater than the force required to continue. The cycle you are in is not your destiny. It is simply your current state of inertia, and you are not a passive object. You are the force. You have the capacity to apply the precise conscious energy required to overcome that initial resistance. Topic 3. The 3 Shaolin keys to break the cycle. The struggle to break the cycle feels monumental because you imagine it as a single heroic leap across a chasm. This is the mind's deception. The Shaolin path teaches that true strength is not found in one explosive effort, but in precise, repeated, and intentional application of wisdom. It is time to apply the force. Here are the 3 Shaolin keys to break the cycle and reclaim your future. Key number 1. The practice of the minimal effective action. Your brain is overwhelmed by the magnitude of the change you desire. Write a book, start a business, get healthy. These goals are so large they trigger an immediate fear response leading to paralysis. The antidote is not more courage, but less ambition in the immediate moment. The first key is to master the art of the minimal effective action. The key word is effective. The action, no matter how small, must be a genuine step in the direction you wish to travel. It must break the pattern of inaction. The second key word is minimal. The action must be so small, so unintimidating, that it is almost impossible for your brain to justify refusing it. You don't need to write a book. Your minimal effective action is to open a document and write one true sentence. You don't need to find your life's purpose. Your minimal effective action is to take 10 minutes to write down what you are curious about. You don't need to run a marathon. Your minimal effective action is to put on your shoes and stand outside your door for 60 seconds. This is not a trick. This is strategy. Every time you perform a minimal effective action, you are casting a vote for a new identity. You are generating a spark of momentum. This principle is so powerful it has a name in Japanese industrial philosophy, Kaizen, pioneered by companies like Toyota after World War II to rebuild from nothing. Kaizen is the philosophy of continuous improvement through small incremental changes. Instead of shutting down a factory for 6 months to retool, they would make one small improvement every single day. The cumulative effect was revolutionary. This is exactly how you rewire your brain. A minimal effective action is a psychological Kaizen. According to research on habit formation, such as that from Stanford's B.J. Fogg, these small wins trigger a release of dopamine, the neurotransmitter of reward and motivation. You are creating a new habit loop. Trigger the goal, behavior the tiny action, reward the feeling of accomplishment. You are gently teaching your brain that the new path is not one of fear, but of reward. You are using your brain's own chemistry to build momentum, making the next action slightly easier, and the next one easier still. You are overcoming inertia, one small effective step at a time. Key number 2, the ritual of intentional discomfort. Your comfort zone is the cage. We have established this. Therefore, a crucial part of your training is to systematically and intentionally step outside of it. You must make discomfort your training ground. This is the ritual of intentional discomfort. It is the practice of voluntarily choosing a harder path in small, low-stakes situations every single day. Take a cold shower for the last 30 seconds. When you are at a coffee shop, instead of rehearsing your order a dozen times, make eye contact and speak clearly. Take a different route on your way home from work, even if it's longer. When faced with a list of tasks, consciously choose to do the one you are dreading the most first. These actions, in themselves, are insignificant. Their purpose is not the outcome but the training. With each act of intentional discomfort, you are sending a clear message to your primal brain. You see, the unknown is not fatal. The discomfort is survivable. You are deliberately exposing your nervous system to small doses of stress, and in doing so you are expanding your capacity to handle it. There is a powerful biological principle that explains why this works, known as hormesis. Hormesis states that a low dose of a stressor can actually produce a beneficial adaptation, making the organism stronger and more resilient. For example, when you lift weights, you are applying a stressor that creates microscopic tears in your muscle fibers. The body's response is to repair these fibers, but it doesn't just repair them to their original state. It overcompensates, making them thicker and stronger to handle future stress. Intentional discomfort is psychological hormesis. You are applying a manageable dose of psychological stress. Fear, uncertainty, social anxiety, and your mind, in response, build stronger emotional and regulatory muscles. Studies in stress inoculation, often used to train allied military forces and first responders, are built on this exact premise. Gradually exposing individuals to stress in a controlled environment builds immense resilience for when the stakes are high. By choosing your discomforts, you are forging the resilience you will need to face the unavoidable discomforts of a life lived fully. Key number 3, the vow of the observer self. The first two keys are external practices. The third key is the internal mastery that governs them all. It is the most powerful and the most subtle. It is the vow to become the observer self. Right now, you are fused with your mind. When a thought of fear appears, you are fear. When a feeling of laziness emerges, you are lazy. This is the ultimate illusion. You are not your thoughts. You are not your emotions. You are the consciousness that is aware of your thoughts and emotions. To take the vow of the observer self is to practice stepping back and witnessing the activity of your mind without judgment or attachment. It is the shift from I am anxious to I notice the sensation of anxiety is present. It is the shift from I am a procrastinator to I observe the urge to procrastinate arising. In that tiny space you create between the stimulus and your reaction lies your freedom. That space is where choice is born. When you are the observer, you can see the urge to stay on the couch and then, with awareness, choose the minimal effective action. Keyzone 1. You can feel the fear of the cold shower and then, with intention, choose the discomfort. Keyzone 2. Without the observer, you are a slave to the automated programs of your mind. With the observer, you become the calm, clear master of the control room. This is the essence of mindfulness, the core of Shaolin charm practice. It is the quiet power to watch the storm of your own mind without being swept away by it. These three keys are not separate techniques. They are a unified system. That the minimal action builds momentum, the intentional discomfort builds resilience, and the observer self gives you the wisdom to guide them both. But a key is useless until it is turned. The true transformation does not happen in the knowing, it happens in the living. This is not a new list of tasks to add to your overwhelming life. It is not a regimen for perfection. It is a fundamental shift in the quality of your attention. It is a new way of being with yourself as you move through your day. The first few days will feel like pushing a boulder. Your inertia will fight you with every ounce of its power. Your mind will scream with the familiar stories of I can't, it's too hard, I'll do it tomorrow. This is not a sign of failure. It is the sign that the process is working. You are finally applying the force. And here is the secret to maintaining it. The power of compounding returns. In finance, compounding is called the eighth wonder of the world. Yet this principle does not only apply to money, it applies to every area of human growth. Your first minimal action is a single penny. It feels worthless. Your first act of intentional discomfort is a drop of water. It feels insignificant. But the next day you add another penny, another drop. The magic is that these efforts do not just add up, they multiply. Each action makes the next one slightly easier. Each choice to observe carves the neural pathway of mindfulness a little deeper. The momentum you build today fuels your capacity for tomorrow. Over time, that constant gentle drip of intentional action will carve a canyon through the landscape of your resistance. You are not just changing a habit, you are changing the very geography of your mind. And on this journey, you will stumble. There will be a day when you choose the comfortable cage. You will sleep in. You will avoid the difficult conversation. You will fall back into the old pattern. In the past, this would have been the moment you declared defeat. You would have said, "See, I knew I couldn't do it," and the chains would snap back into place, tighter than before. But you are the observer now. The setback is no longer a failure. It is data. When you fall, the observer calmly asks, what was the trigger? What story did my mind tell me? What sensation did I avoid? The setback becomes a lesson in self-mastery. So, your new goal is not to never fall. It is to shorten the time between the fall and the moment you gracefully, without judgment, choose to get up and take the next minimal action. That is where true, unbreakable resilience is forged. Look back for a moment. Look back at the person you were just 28 minutes ago. You felt a silent thief, a ghost stealing your life. Now you know its name, you know its methods, and you know its weakness. Its power was only ever in your unconsciousness. By shining the light of your awareness upon it, its hold has already begun to dissolve. The cycle that felt like your destiny you now see is just inertia. The cage that felt like your reality you now see is just a collection of familiar thoughts. The raft you carried on your back, the weight of your past and your pain, you now have the wisdom to set down on the riverbank and walk away. You are not the raft. You are the mountain climber. You are not your anxiety, your fear, or your procrastination. You are the vast silent sky in which those clouds appear and fade. You are not the prisoner. You are the architect. And the future is not a place you arrive at, but a place you create with every single conscious choice, starting now. The mistake is no longer silent. You can hear it, and because you can hear it, you are no longer compelled to obey it. You are free. So I have one final question for you, a question that only you can answer. What will you build with this freedom? The journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. The vow of a new life begins with a single, declared intention. Down below, in the space we share, is a training ground, a place to take that first minimal step. So what is the one laughably small, minimal, effective action you will take today to begin breaking your cycle? Declare it. Write it down. Not for me or for anyone else, but for you. The act of writing it is its own vow. It's the first push against the boulder. It's the first proof to yourself that today is different. Let's see the momentum we can build. Together.